Hi, welcome to Tales Beyond the Grave. Welcome back to another video, and we're not in Manchester today. We're in the market town of Hinckley, down in the East Midlands. A market town since 1511. It's home of the Hansom cab and also Triumph motorcycles or Triumph cars as well. And also, not far from here was the Battle of Bosworth, where King Richard III was killed, and he turned up in Leicester, in a car park in Leicester, and they found him there and reburied him. So today we're here to tell you about an interesting bit of folklore connected to a gravestone, and the gravestone is called the Bleeding Gravestone. Now, I'm not swearing at you, that is what it's called, and we're going to take you around, we're going to show you and tell you a bit about it, and then take you to go and see the Bleeding Headstone. Now, the folklore connected to Hinckley is the churchyard where I'm going to take you to. I'm going to show you the grave of Richard Smith, and it's said on his anniversary of his death, on the 12th of April each year, the gravestone oozes blood from it. So what I'm going to show you today is the grave of Richard Smith. Now, does it ooze blood on the anniversary of his death? I don't know. Has anybody ever witnessed it? Is it just an old folklore, an old mother's tale? I don't know. But they removed the headstone. It used to be at the side of the church. Now, I think the priest or the vicar was concerned that it was becoming a bit of a tourist attraction and attracting people to the graveyard. So he removed the stone from the side of the church to the place I'm going to show you now. And why did he do that? I don't know. Maybe it's superstition. Maybe it does ooze blood on the 12th of April each year. I don't know. Has it stopped? I mean, was it doing it at the side of the church, and now it's in the position it's in now? Has it stopped now? It'd be nice to know if anyone can shine any light on the reason why it was moved to another side of the church. So we're just at the start. We're going to tell you the story of Richard Smith, really, and what happened to him. Now, behind us, we'll turn you around in a minute, but behind us is a starting point where it all stems from. And what it was is Sergeant Simeon Stain was recruiting. He'd come into Hinckley and he was recruiting young men for the army, the King's Army. Now, in the crowd that day was Richard Smith, and behind us is the building, but now back then it was called the Pig and Whistle, and he was trying to recruit, but there was a heckling from the crowd. So we'll just turn you around to have a look where it was. Just as you can see there, the building opposite was once the Pig and Whistle pub, where it all started. So outside the Pig and Whistle pub, the sergeant began his speech on how to recruit members of the public, young men, into King George's army and to take the King's shilling. Now, the King's shilling was back then a way of sort of like signing up to the army, really. A lot of people couldn't read and write back then, so taking the King's shilling was seen as a commitment to the King and joining his army. Now, Sergeant Stain, talking to the crowd of young men, mentioned the George Inn pub being named after King George II, whereas Richard Smith in the crowd shouted out to him and started to heckle him about, you're wrong. He said, the George Inn pub is named after George and the Dragon. And the argument took place, and it was starting to get a bit heated, and Sergeant Stain was beginning to lose his temper with the young man who wouldn't let it go. He kept interfering with his speech, and what Sergeant Stain did was to take out the halberd. Now, the halberd is quite a medieval weapon, really. It combines like a pole and an axe with a blade and a hook, sharp point on it, and he started to demonstrate to the young men how to defend yourself while using the halberd. I'll show you a picture of it now. And what he did was Richard continued to heckle the sergeant, and he lunged forward with the point of the halberd and hit Richard in the middle of the chest. striking him in the middle of the chest, and Richard fell to the ground in a pool of blood. Now the crowd was aghast by this, and Sergeant Stain, shocked by what he'd done, or did he do it on purpose, we don't know, and what he did was to fled the scene, and then he fled Hinckley and made his way back to his army base. Now back at the army base, news had got round that a recruiting sergeant had killed a young man in the market town of Hinckley, and it was soon to be discovered that that was Sergeant Stain, and he was arrested and he was taken to Leicester Assizes Court, where he was charged with the murder of Richard Smith in Hinckley. His sentence was to be executed by the way of hanging, and Sergeant Stain paid the price for killing a young man, a defenceless young man really, in Hinckley. So the gravestone of Richard Smith, it has a strange inscription on the headstone. The reason I don't know, is it because it has a folklore tale connected to it, or who put the inscription onto Richard's headstone? Let's go and have a look at it and I'll show you. And the gravestone's a little warm because it's from the 1700s, but what I will do is read you out the inscription on the grave. So this is St Mary's Church in Hinckley, and this is the final resting place of Richard Smith. I've told you the story of how he was killed and his body was buried here, and it was at the side of the church at one point, because the gravestone was moved because the gravestone oozes blood on the anniversary, the 12th of April of his death, and they moved it just over there. So we'll take you over to go and have a look at that one. So this is the final resting place of Richard Smith. Started as a normal day, the sergeant trying to recruit soldiers into the King's Army, and it ended up in the murder of Richard Smith. Now this is the gravestone which allegedly oozes blood on the anniversary, and you can make his name out there. It has an inscription. I'm going to tell you what that says. I'll read the inscription out to you. So it says, "A fatal halberd his mortal body slew, the murdering hand of God's vengeance will pursue. From shades terrestrial through justice took her flight, shall not judge all of earth do right. Each age and sex his innocence bemoans, and a sad sigh laments his dying groans." That's the inscription on the bleeding grave. I love these sort of like, because I'm not from Hinckley myself, as you know, I'm from Manchester, but I just love hearing these old folklore tales and superstitions which towns have. I mean, the town of Manchester, sorry, the city of Manchester and city of Salford has their own folklore and tales, but it's interesting to know if anybody has any more information. Please pop it in the comments and let us know if you know any more information on the grave of Richard Smith, known as the Bleeding Gravestone. So we've come to the end of the video. I want to thank everyone who's watched the video. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Give us a like and a share. And also, if you're a new watcher to the channel, please subscribe. It don't cost you anything. All it does is give you a little notification that the next time I put a post up or a new video. So what I normally say now, I always say it because I'm 100% sure I don't know where I'm going on next, but I'm going to go on to the next video. I don't know where I'm going on the next one, but the best thing to do is I'll see you when I get there. Thanks for watching. Bye.